once in a while. Hey, Pepper, how you doing? How are you? I'm good. This is not perfect shaking hands. I don't think, I'm good. Here we go, we do that. Hey, how are you? And you would if you want. One of my fond memories when I worked with Landmark was when Ted and I had to get down to Sussex County Council. And we met with the gentleman who had the concrete business. Melvin Josie. He was our client. He was getting ready to expand some cells in his bar out here. Yes, of course. Comics. And he had some all that issues and entrances. And he did this out to dinner. That was an interesting trip. That was an interesting night. That was, we had to get some variances. So we just went. And I've done this a lot of times, but I've never been in an adjustment hearing where the public was not being cross-examined. And they let that go on for about an hour. Finally, the solicitor said, "Yeah, that's not right." Like I kept looking at like, why am I being crossed? Usually, what it is questions, whether it's planning commission or levy commission, whatever, the questions go to you, and you can say, we have to answer that question, whatever, you can make that decision. Never been crossed. Hello, sir. He was interesting. Yeah. Oh, you're an interesting guy. Yeah. Hey, how are you?
latest last message. Sorry.
Tinger's in there?
Yes.
Okay.
John, he won't hear.
Right, okay.
And this is the first projection of this.
Okay. Thank you.
You called order Kent County Levy Court Combined Business and Committee Meeting, Kent County Administrative Complex, 555 Bay Road, Dover, Tuesday, September 29th, 2020, Levy Court Chamber, Room 203 at 7 p.m. sharp. Mr. Pedamage.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we begin this evening's meeting, just a brief word about the fact that we are joined tonight by callers on the conference line. So this meeting, although it's being held public in the Levy Court chambers, we are also extending participation to callers via the conference line who may also be watching the proceedings via WebEx. Just want to remind everyone through this proceeding that we are recording this meeting. It is a public meeting subject to all the rules and rules of procedure of the Levy Court, including the Mason's Rules of Order. At the appropriate time when the public is invited to speak, either in person or over the conference line, we ask that everyone identify themselves for the record. If they're speaking on a public hearing item, they must be sworn in before they provide their comments. And at the various locations throughout the agenda where there's opportunity for public comment, we will invite our callers via the conference line to participate, and we'll remind them how to do that. At this time, Mr. President, I'll turn the floor back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Pedamage. We'll have the invocation by Mr. Howe, pledge allegiance to our flag by Mr. Pepper, and a moment of silence for our troops. Mr. Sweeney, all rise.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for being here in our midst. We recognize your presence. We just ask you to give us guidance in all of our procedures tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for the men and women who serve our country and continually fight for our freedoms, including all the law enforcement, first responders, nurses, doctors who have given their lives to COVID and treating patients. I do not have a list tonight of those who have given their lives. It's a very short list. So I will include those in my next tribute. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a roll call to determine a quorum. Miss Lorraine Tanaka.
Mr. Angel,
Present.
Mr. Buxton,
Present.
Mr. Hall,
Present.
Mr. Howell,
Here.
Mr. Pepper,
Here.
Mr. Sweeney,
Here.
Mr. Banta.
Present.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 present.
Thank you, Lori. 7 of the commissioners present. We do have a quorum. Need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
Regularly moved and seconded. Mr. Angel, Mr. Hall, to adopt the agenda as you see in printed form. Any questions about the motion? Hearing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mr. Pepper,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approve the adoption as printed before you. Consent agenda 20-10.
Move to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
Mr. Angel, Mr. Sweeney to approve consent agenda 20-10. Any questions about that motion? Hearing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mr. Pepper,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approves consent agenda 20-10. Presentations. First item, Resolution 3806. Ms. Tanaka.
Resolution 3806, in recognition of Drug Addiction Awareness in Kent County, Delaware. Whereas there is a legitimate concern about the COVID-19 global pandemic's impact on substance use, and whereas through the month of August 2020, Delaware's Division of Forensic Science has reported 256 deaths from suspected overdoses in Delaware, an increase of about 32% from the same period in 2019. And whereas the Center for Disease Control and Prevention found elevated adverse mental health conditions associated with COVID-19 among U.S. adults, and whereas the study 31%, whereas in the study, 31% of respondents reported symptoms of anxiety or depression, 26% reported symptoms of trauma or stressor-related disorder, 13% said they had started or increased substance use, and 11% reported having seriously considered suicide in the 30 days prior to the study. Now therefore be it resolved that the Kent County Levy Court for the 3rd year supports Project Purple with the state of Delaware, City of Dover, and other Delaware businesses in recognition of drug addiction awareness.
Thank you, Lori. We need a motion and a second.
Move to approve Resolution 3806, Mr. President.
Second.
Regularly moved and seconded. Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Howell, to approve Resolution 3806. Any questions on that motion? Hearing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mr. Pepper,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
7 affirmative votes approves Resolution 3806. I believe that Reverend Harris is here this evening. Yes, ma'am. If you come down, and Mr. Pedamage will be kind enough to present that to you, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Just want to thank the commissioners for the 3rd year in a row, and I just wanted, because I know it's being recorded, for our community to know that we don't approach our commissioners. Our commissioners consciously approach our community to make sure that they stay ahead of issues like this, and just want to thank you guys for staying ahead of it and for continuing to work with our community and with agencies and coalitions like myself to keep this at the forefront. So thank you.
certainly our honor to do this resolution. Any commissioners have any comments they would like to make? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Pettit,
Councilman Anderson indicated to us that he may be joining us on the conference line. He had another meeting tonight. I'm not sure he's on the line or not, but I would like to give him an opportunity if he has something he'd like to say about this matter. So Councilman Anderson, if you're listening and you want to join the conference call, please press *1 on your phone and we will bring you into the meeting. *1, please. Okay, apparently he didn't, oh, Mark just signaled he may have someone.
Thank you, Mr. President and members and commissioners. I echo Pastor Harris and thank you for your commitment on this very important issue. The cooperation between the county, the city, and the state and all the various community members and nonprofits is vital to helping us moving forward. And I just want to thank you for your leadership. And now I have to get back to my meeting, but I just wanted to thank you for your leadership on this issue.
thank you, Councilman Anderson, for tuning in. Appreciate that, and sit back to your meeting and get something done. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Any other callers on the line that you know of? Right. Okay.
I don't believe so, Mr. President.
Next item on the agenda is 3801 for the retirement of Kathy. Looks like Kathleen M. McLean. so if we read that into the record, please. Thank you.
Resolution 3801, retirement of Kathleen M. McLean. Whereas the retirement of Kathleen M. McLean, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from her duties as payroll administrator, Department of Administration, Division of Personnel, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Kathleen M. McLean as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Kathleen M. McLean for the able and loyal manner in which she performed her public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be her evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the September 29th, 2020 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Thank you, Ms. Tanaka. This is a resolution that needs a motion and a second. Mr. Sweeney.
Mr. President, I have a question before we make the motion. Mr. Pettit, is our acceptance of this resolution allowing Kat to get the retirement? Yes or no? The cat shaking her head, yes, she would know, obviously.
Yeah, she would be entitled to all the rights and benefits of our pension plan.
All right, so it doesn't mean that we accept that she's leaving, just that she gets a retirement.
Right.
Okay, I move to approve Resolution 3801, retirement of Kat M. McLean. I get a second, Kat, then what are you going to do?
Somebody who's looking at retirement. As much as we hate to see you go, you certainly have earned it, and so I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, Mr. Sweeney and Mr. Buxton, in regard to Resolution 3801. Any questions on that motion? Pardon me? Yeah. Thank you. Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Angel?
Absolutely not.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
With great reluctance, yes.
Mr. Banta?
With reservations, yes.
Mr. President?
Before we continue further, I think Mr. Angel would like to make a comment or two. Mr. Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kat, I'm changing my vote to yes. But I have to say, the reason I did this, I know I honored you last month with the pension committee that you served with us and with me the last 14 of my 16 years. Your dedication to your position, even when you were ill, coming in to make sure the people were paid, you're going to be missed. I mean, I know Alan's going to be missed, missing you too, and so is your peers. Your camaraderie, your friendship, I'm going to miss our long discussions when Alan wasn't here. And, the good things of life are just hard to let go. That's the only way I can put it. I wish you the very best with you and your husband and what you plan on doing, and the best of life. Please, come back and visit. But my vote, I'm changing to yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approves Resolution 3801, retirement of Kathleen M. McLean. I'd like to make a couple of comments as well. I know Mr. Angel has been part of the administrative team for that office as well. When I came on board, and she sort of came on board in a couple of years or so of my experience first starting with the county, she was always receptive, always very professional, and whenever I called the office, usually Mr. Coelho wasn't there, so she answered the phone on his behalf. He was either in the bathroom or on vacation, but she always took the call. So I can't thank you enough for your effort and time in satisfying at least my concerns and my needs. So have a great retirement. You have certainly earned it. Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Pepper.
Kat, every once in a while I refer to a retiring employee or any employee as the glue that holds the Kent County Levy Court family together. And I think you come out of that tube of glue also. You're going to be really missed, and going to miss your cheerful answer to the phone and all that. So take care, do everything that you planned on doing, and don't wait, get it done. So take care, best of luck to you and your husband.
Mr. Pettimaj, any comment you'd like to make?
Well, sure. Mr. President, I'd like to first present Kat with a copy of the resolution. Come on down. And I know there are other folks who want to say some things, so I just want to say this. Obviously, Commissioners have expressed a bittersweet moment here in the county because you're such a big part of the family here, and you've been here for as long as many of us can remember, and you've done a fantastic job. You've just been a great, dedicated, loyal person to the county, and all of your peers are going to miss you. We congratulate you and wish you all the best, you and Neil, in this retirement adventure. I know you're going to have a great days ahead of you, but just know that your Kent County family loves you, and we'll always welcome you back. And so you're always part of this team here. And I know Mr. Coelho is here, and he wants to come up and say a few words as well. And I know it's COVID and everything, but with your permission, I'd like to give you say thanks for everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. I'm not sure what I can say that hasn't already been said tonight. But obviously, because you saw me pull a piece of paper out of my pocket, I do have a couple of things. Now, after a couple of years in the accounting department, now we call it the finance department, Kat came down and joined the personnel office as the payroll administrator, and that was 20 years ago. And for 15 years of those 20, she and I have sat right next to each other every single workday. And after you've sat next to somebody for that long, you kind of get to know them. And I would say that one of the things that she does is, as we do for many of our employees, she welcomes you into her own family, not just the county family. And she certainly did that for me. In fact, I often kid with her all the time, really, about her being my older sister. Since I never had one. And she really is like that. I get invited to Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas dinners, birthday parties, just summer picnics. And often I'll stop by just, on a hot afternoon for a cold, ice cold beer. And I suppose like many siblings, I got to know her boyfriend, or in this case, her husband, Neil. And, she knows this. I claim him to be my very best friend. In fact, I'm sure I'm not his best friend because he's probably got a lot of those, but he is mine. And I guess I'll still get to see him regularly. I just won't see Kat every single day. Also like a big sister, she never holds back. She tells me when I'm wrong, when I'm bullheaded, when I'm not considering the right position, and every now and then she'll even tell me when I make a right call on something. But she does keep me straight, and I've certainly benefited from her counsel all these years, and actually the county has greatly benefited, and certainly the employees have. But she has made that decision to finally pull the chocks and head into the wild blue yonder of retirement. Her sweet moment has finally arrived, or as Kat will say, her sweet moment has finally arrived. So all I can say is a phrase she taught me 20 years ago. Thank you very much. I'll hug you more.
Anything you would like to say?
Well, it was a hard decision, and I made a joke with Mike about the fact that I did it on my anniversary date. Signed paperwork and said, all right. It is a little bit of a scary moment because I have been here for 22 years, and I am moving to a different part of my life, spending a little more time with my husband, bugging my dad a little more often, who's also here today. But Kent County has been my family for a long time, and I will miss everyone here very much. Thank you.
Mr. Sweetie.
Boy, Kat, those are messages that are hard to follow, so I won't even try. Congratulations. Good luck in your retirement, and don't forget to come back and visit us, please.
Any other commissioner comments? Seeing none? Thank you very much. Congratulations and best wishes as the future rolls by. Take care of yourself. Stay happy. Keep your husband happy.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be a job, but try.
That's easy. He's always busy trying to keep me happy, so.
That's good. Thanks again. Thank you so much. Ms. Tanaka, we need the Employee of the Month for October 2020. I do not believe that Corday is here, correct? Correct. We need to read that into the record, though. Thank you.
Kent County Department heads have selected Corday A. Schowel from the Department of Public Works as the October 2020 Employee of the Month. Corday has been a Kent County employee since December 2018 and holds the position of Heavy Equipment Operator 1 in the Wastewater Facilities Division. His primary duties include operating heavy equipment at the Regional Resource Recovery Facility and transporting and land applying highly prized processed biosolids, Kent Organite, to area farms. Corday is praised by supervisors for his dependability and conscientiousness. His work ethic is matched only by his enthusiasm for the important work. More recently, Corday had a vital role in Kent County's physical effort to help Dover area property owners clean up unprecedented tornado damage caused by Tropical Storm Isaias. Corday, along with the rest of the county's cleanup team, worked diligently to remove the debris by operating a large-wheeled excavator. According to Public Works Director Diana Golt, since his first day, Corday has been an exemplary employee. His quiet demeanor and calm attitude have been a pleasant addition. He shows up each day with a smile on his face, ready to tackle whatever job is in front of him. His attitude and dedication makes him a perfect candidate for this honor, and congratulations on Corday for a job well done. He resides in Sussex County. The tribute reads, Kent County Levy Court, October 2020 Employee of the Month, Corday A. Showell. On this, the 29th day of September 2020, the Levy Court of Kent County, State of Delaware, does hereby recognize Corday A. Showell, Heavy Equipment Operator 1, Department of Public Works, for his exceptional initiative, dedication, and conscientiousness in the delivery of services to the citizenry of the county.
Thank you, Ms. Tanaka. Is Diana here? So would you Dan, would you want to be able to give that to Corday when you see him? And Mr. Pedamage will give that to you, or Lori will as well. And at an appropriate time, we can maybe get him in here and do it more efficiently. It officially now is the month for October 2020. Thank you, Diana. According to information received today, the next item number 4, none of those folks are able to be here this evening. Is that correct, Ms. Gold? Correct. So then we move to item number 4A, which is John Tinger. John is here, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, good. So you can read that into the record.
Yes, EMS Captain John A. Tinger. He's the June 2020 June 2020 Employee of the Month from the Department of Public Safety. John started as a paramedic with Kent County in May 2006 and currently serves as the administrative officer in the Division of Emergency Medical Services. He is also a registered nurse, and John resides in Commissioner Buxton's and Commissioner Pepper's districts.
Is there a document there to be read?
Yes, we have a tribute front that was, presented in June or end of May.
You got that? So, Mr. Pedamage, John, if you come on down, we'll make this presentation for you. Thank you.
John, on behalf of the county council, I want to present you with this resolution that Commissioner just read into the record, and congratulate you on being the June Employee of the Month. John played an instrumental role in preparing the staff here for a lot of different things, but the COVID outbreak presented a lot of challenges for us, and educating our employees on the proper use of personal protective equipment and proper sanitation, cleansing, and things like that. The extra precautions that we're all now become second nature, but in the early days, we called upon John and his colleagues in public safety to do some training work for our staff, and you embraced it, you did it, and you jumped right in, and that was a big help for us. We had groups of people meeting in this room, and we presented kind of video-based and discussion format training, and that's the kind of thing that gets you recognized. And so your fellow employees said, thank you very much by presenting you with this tribute. And I just want to say it's great to have you on staff. I know you're a big help to College Office. Chief Fawcett's here. You may want to come down and say a word or two. And we can just give you an elbow bump and say thanks again. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Pedamage. John, we knew we were getting a good deal when we promoted you several years ago, and I will say that you've exceeded our expectations every single day. You've brought programs to the county that you really didn't have to, including combat tactical medicine. You're involved in the heart registry, has had us recognized by the American Heart Association formally, and now working with stroke care at Bay Health, and a litany of things that you're involved in. And just to follow up on the COVID comments that Mr. Pettit-Amash was talking about, when we were attacked by COVID, we had a lot of things going on administratively. Now we have all these troops in the field. You were the perfect conduit. You were in touch with the troops several times on the calls, and I listened in on those calls and did an outstanding job. No one had any questions. Everybody knew what the expectations were, and you just did a fantastic job for us. So thank you. You're well deserving of this recognition, and thanks for being there for us.
Thank you, John. Mr. Pepper.
Thank you, Mr. President. John is very talented, as we found it. He's not only a paramedic, but he's also a nurse. And he's very detail-oriented. And in his job, you need to be that. And he also has the ability to think outside the box, which is something that we need, especially in the position that he's in. So very happy for you to receive this honor as Employee of the Month for June. I think we've already said our accolades towards you a while back, but it was on the phone. And so thanks for being here tonight, and keep up the good work and keep our paramedics what they are. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Buxton.
I'll keep it short. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's always an honor to be able to recognize you guys. Appreciate you, and gals.
Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. John, congratulations. You were in the right place at the right time to help us when this thing hit. So very much appreciate your expertise and your guidance and everything that we've done over the past 6 months. Thank you.
Mr. Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, John. I remember the day you walked into this room and you got sworn in and got acclimated to us in 2006. Seems like just yesterday. The fact is that your hair may be a little shorter, a little less, but you're still with us and still doing a great job, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, John, for your professionalism and dedication to the county. Can't thank you enough for the job you do. Any comments you'd like to make?
Just want to thank the commissioners for your continued support, County Administrator and Chief Faulkner. The leadership that you guys give us every day makes it easy for us to continue to serve Kent County with pride. So thank you.
Thank you, John. We appreciate that. Next item on the agenda will be a public hearing, a stormwater maintenance district extension for the orchards. That's Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe Ms. Kiefer is at the podium to bring us up to date on this.
Thank you.
Sarah, you just want to wait a couple minutes till this crowd clears out. Those mics are pretty good at picking up every little move. Okay, Sarah,
Okay.
thanks.
First, a word about how the public hearings tonight will be conducted. These public hearings are being conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of the county the opportunity to present testimony on the applications before the Levy Court. Everyone will have a chance to speak. All statements are to be made from the podium at the front of the room, or if you're on the conference line, again, please press *1 to be recognized. For the record, please give your name and address. Copies of any written statements or exhibits used during the hearing should be presented for identification and inclusion in the record. For each application before the Levy Court, the president will introduce the application. The Levy Court will then receive testimony from all of those in favor. Testimony will then be received from those who may be opposed. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, the hearing on the application will be closed, and the Levy Court will take what action it deems appropriate. Levy Court's decision will be based upon public hearing testimony given at this meeting and a recommendation submitted to the Levy Court by the Regional Planning Commission. I would ask that that recommendation be included by reference in the permanent record of this meeting established by the Clerk of the Peace. The public notice of this hearing was published in the September 11th, 2020 edition of the Delaware State News. The first application before the Levy Court tonight is the addition of the Orchards subdivision into the Stormwater Maintenance District. This is Resolution 3802. A majority of the lot owners have signed a petition to join the district in the affirmative. All necessary repairs have been made to the infrastructure and inspected by Kent Conservation District. The annual fee adopted in the FY20 budget is $28 per parcel. Billing will commence for the subdivision with the August 2021 tax bill in the amount of $56. So it'll be doubled up next year. So staff recommends that the orchards be included in the Stormwater Maintenance District. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? Thank you, Ms. Kiefer.
Thank
you. The public hearing will open on Resolution 3802. Is there anyone here in favor? Anyone here in favor of Resolution 3802? If you're in favor and wish to come down to the podium, you can make your comments. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Give us your name, address, and be sworn in. Thank you.
My name is Jackson Morgan, 164 Apple Blossom Drive in the Orchards.
Mr. Morgan, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I am the president of the HOA at the Orchards, and I just wanted to thank Kent County and Kent County Levy Court for allowing a program like this for us to possibly enter. And on behalf of the HOA, we as a community would like to enter into it.
Thank you, Jackson. Any questions for the applicant? Any questions? Nope. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Is there anyone else here in favor of Resolution 3802? Anyone else here in favor?
If we have any callers on the line who wish to speak on this, please press *1. We'll release you. Not seeing any callers.
Anyone here in opposition of Resolution 3802? Anyone here in opposition? Are there any callers in opposition?
*1, please.
*1. Any callers in opposition? Seeing none? The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the Orchards HOA, congratulations. I've been involved in quite a bit of these in my division, in my district, and it's not always as easy as what you guys have done, so congratulations. Finding that the proposed stormwater maintenance district expansion is adequate and appropriate, that all of the property owners within the district are benefited directly or indirectly thereby, and that it is in the public interest to extend the stormwater maintenance district in the manner proposed. I move to approve Resolution 3802, creating the Orchards Stormwater Maintenance District.
Second motion.
Regularly moved and seconded. Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Pepper to approve Resolution 3802. Any questions on that motion? Hearing none. Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes, reasons stated by Commissioner Sweeney and no opposition.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, reasons stated.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, for all reasons stated, plus it's a great program that'll potentially save the homeowners a lot of money over the years.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. Banta?
Yeah, for all reasons stated and public comments, I vote yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 of 30 votes approves Resolution 3802. Next item under Mr. Sweeney, application 20-06.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next application, C2006, is a conditional use application for a home occupation, home daycare. The site is Lot 32 of Cypress Gardens subdivision. It is inside the growth zone, zoned RMH, residential manufactured home. The Regional Planning Commission took testimony on the application at their September 3rd hearing, and at their September 10th business meeting voted unanimously to recommend conditional approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff on application C-20-06? Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Kiefer.
Thank you.
Public hearing open on application C-20-06. Is there anyone here in favor? Yes, ma'am. Come forward.
I'm that person. I didn't know if I was supposed to be.
Fine, you can raise your hand, you come to the podium and make any comments you wish to make.
Oh, okay. If I don't need to, then do I need to?
Yes.
My name is Valerie Collins. I am the owner of this house, and the reason why that I want to do a home daycare, I've been in this field for 20 plus years. I've been in daycares, home daycares, I've worked everywhere, and then currently as a center director. So as I get older, I would like to do something at home, being my own boss, and wanted to take care of children.
Ms. Collins, hold on one second. Before you continue, can our attorney swear you in?
You need to swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth with respect to this application.
I swear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the reason why I'm getting older and I would like to do something a little smaller and being my own boss. I've seen all kinds of things throughout the years in daycares, licensing, how to report. I've just seen a lot of things that I don't approve of, and I wanted to do my own thing and being able to help children grow as they start younger to as they get older and go into the school district. So this is the reasoning that I wanted to do at home.
Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, President. Ms. Collins, look, I'm in education, working for Smyrna School District. So one of the unintended consequences of distance learning is all the kids are having to stay home.
Yes.
While their parents try to get back to work. So did that have a impetus on you getting this started now?
No, I don't think it's going to happen right away because I still have to get it all together. So I'm starting from ground zero. So I have to get all the permits and stuff. So I'm still working on that. But I knew this was my first step, so I wanted to get this part done first. So I anticipate maybe by this time next year, if not sooner, to have it ready at home.
Good. And you agree with all of the conditions that were placed on, that you are part of our ordinances, part of our code, and the state requirements?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Mr. Pepper.
Ms. Collins, there's one question I always ask every person that applies for daycare. And it was hard for me to see during my ride by and hard for me to tell in the pictures. Is your backyard 100% fenced in?
It is. It's just that the shed is there. So it's all the way around. But I'm going to probably eventually take that down because that was there when I moved in a couple years ago. So I'm going to continue it all the way. But it is fenced. It's all the way covered.
It is fenced, okay. Because in order to be consistent, I normally vote against a home daycare if it does not have a fenced-in yard or fenced-in play area. So you get that taken care of. So thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Mr. Buxton.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Maybe Ms. Kiefer can answer this. Relatively consistent also, and I did not see it in the application or in the packet. I respect your rights to present your application and your right to have this business. I also respect the rights of deed restrictions. So the question to Ms. Kiefer yourself is there anything listed, presented that we know of?
And I couldn't find any either when I actually got I called the mortgage company to see if there was anything. Because when I was given the paperwork, there wasn't a list of deed restrictions that I'm aware of.
Sure. I know there's a couple of folks that maybe have objected to this situation. However, I believe with some of the conditions, we can mitigate their concerns. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buxton. Any other questions for the applicant? Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Anyone else here in favor of application CS-20-06? Anyone else here in favor? Any callers online in favor?
Star one if you're there to speak on this item. Doesn't appear to be, Mr. President.
Nope. Thank you, Mr. Fedemage. Anyone here in opposition of application C-20-06? Anyone here in opposition? No one online? Seeing no one in opposition? The application now closed. Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve application C-20-06 for a residential manufactured home daycare based on the the approved RPC recommendation, staff recommendation. The applicant accepted all the conditions that were placed on the application. No formal opposition and no opposition from the Cypress Gardens Civic Association.
Second motion.
Regularly moved and seconded, Mr. Sweeney, excuse me, Mr. Angel, to approve application C-20-06. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes, reason stated by Commissioner Sweeney.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, reasons stated.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, for reasons stated, and good luck.
Mr. Banta?
Yes, she has a fence. I vote yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approved application C-20-06. Next item, Mr. Howell. Mr. Howell, and I guess Ms. Kiefer will come forward.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next application is C-2007. It's a conditional use application for a farm machinery equipment repair and service operation. The site is 9.5 acres on the west side of Tower Road, west of Wyoming, outside the growth zone. Zoned AR, agricultural residential. The Planning Commission took testimony at their September 3rd hearing, and at their September 10th business meeting voted unanimously to recommend conditional approval. The one additional sort of clarifying condition the Planning Commission suggested was that it be clear no retail sales are permitted with the use. It's simply repair. So again, this comes with a recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Kiefer. Any questions for Ms. Kiefer? Mr. Buxton.
The retail would be something along the lines of multiple new products out there versus their own right to sell a reconditioned tractor if they just happen to put one out there, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right.
Any further questions for Ms. Kiefer? Seeing none, thank you very much. We will now open the public hearing application C-20-07. Is there anyone here in favor? Anyone here in favor? Application C-20-07. Mr. Fedemage.
Mr. President, I believe the applicant may have called the Levy Court office today and said that they would be joining the meeting via the conference line. So if the applicant for this item is on the line, Mr. Miller, if you'd like to press star one on your phone, we can allow you into the room. Okay, you may proceed, sir.
This is Raymond Miller, 1337 Tower Road in Camden, Delaware, 19934.
Mr. Miller, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I affirm.
Thank you.
You may proceed, sir.
Okay. I was just waiting on you to, I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to speak now or not, but I'm a mechanic by trade, I guess you would say, and where I'm working at now, they're looking to go out of business, so I'm looking to start my own business and possibly maybe take on those customers that have been relying on us for the last several years, and so I need a place to go, and that's why I've been working with the county Board of Adjustments for the farm size and the Kent County Regional Planning to get the conditional use approved so I can work at home and continue to serve my customers from my home location. try to, I think the conditions were on the agenda. I don't know if you see those or not. My hours would be from 7 to 4:30. There is a tree buffer all the way around from the road. You would just see the front of the building. Everything would be worked on inside. I think according to the conditions, everything I read, all those conditions, I agreed to all those on there. So it says I still have to contact DelDOT for the entrance to get that approved. So I'm not exactly sure where the driveway is going to be going in yet, but so that's kind of where I'm at now. So I think that's about all I have to say for now, I guess.
Any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant?
I have one, Mr. President.
Mr. Howell? Yes, sir.
Mr. Miller, this is Commissioner Howell. I have a question for you. What do you do with oil and other liquids that you extract from different equipment?
The oil and stuff like that, we get Lorco Petroleum. They're out of Elkton, Delaware, to come down and pick that up.
Okay, very good. So you don't put it in the soil.
No.
Very good.
Mr. President.
Mr. Pepper.
Mr. Miller, this is Commissioner Pepper. Question, what kind of repairs are you going to be doing? What kind of equipment can we look to see up there? I mean, are you going to be doing small lawnmowers and that kind of thing, or you plan on doing tractors and backhoes and all that kind of stuff?
Tractors, it'll be mostly big, farm equipment, that kind of stuff. Tractors, combines, different things like that, yes.
Great, thank you.
We do get into, every now and then somebody brings a lawnmower in, but we don't, that's not really our line of work. It's mostly, big stuff.
Great, thank you.
Any other, Mr. Angel?
Mr. Miller, it's Al Angel. What's the hours of operation?
7 o'clock in the morning at a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none? Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Anyone else here in favor of application C-20-07? Anyone else here in favor?
If there are other callers on the line that wish to speak on this in favor, please press star 1 and we'll allow you to speak.
Anyone here in opposition? Hold on.
I just got the baseball signal. We have a caller on the line.
Yes, this is Phoenicia Hopkins, Lincoln, Delaware, and I was just calling, will he be opening up jobs for the economy or to help struggling families in the pandemic?
Ma'am, could you state your full name again and then be sworn in before testifying?
Phoenicia Hopkins, Lincoln, Delaware.
Ms. Hopkins, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Proceed.
I just have a question. Will he be offering jobs to locals for employment, being that there's a lot of people that don't have jobs to go to now and may need to find a job to support their families or themselves?
Is the applicant still on?
That's it. That's it.
Mr. Miller, if you are still on and heard the question, if you could star 1, we would unmute you and you could address the question. Please proceed, sir.
We're actually just a small family business. Me and my brother would be working there for now. So right now we're not a real big time business. So it doesn't really include a lot of other people, I guess you would say. not that I'm trying to shove anybody off on the street or anything, but it's just, I don't want to go so, I just want to keep it small. I don't want to, go out of hand with it or anything like that. So, I guess I don't really know. It's not in a, I guess, no, in a way I wouldn't be opening up to all, public or anything, but, so I guess that would, I guess that would answer your question.
Does that satisfy?
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. Anyone else here in opposition to application C-20-07? Anyone else here in opposition?
If there are any callers who wish to speak in opposition, star 1, please.
Seeing no one on the line in opposition, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve application C-20-07.
Second.
I move the second of Mr. Hall to approve application C-20-07. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes, reason stated, no opposition.
Mr. Buxton?
For the reasons stated.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, reasons stated.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. Banta?
Yeah, based on RPC recommendation, staff, and no opposition, I vote yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lorraine. 7 affirmative votes approves application C-20-07. We'll now move into petitions for conditional use requiring site plan approval. Again, Mr. Howe. Ms. Kiefer is taking the podium. Ms. Kiefer, I'm sorry about that. It's the mask.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next application before the Levy Court is CS 2007. It's a conditional use with site plan application for a contractor's establishment with a storage yard. The site is zoned BG, general business. It is 2.8 acres on South DuPont Highway south of Farmington. The Regional Planning Commission took testimony at their September 3rd hearing and at their September 10th business meeting, voted unanimously to recommend conditional approval. They also recommended granting the sidewalk waiver given the rural nature of the area, and a modified landscaping waiver that the applicant agreed to at the RPC hearing. So again, this comes with the unanimous recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ms. Kiefer? Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. For the public hearing, application CS-20-07. Anyone here in favor? Anyone? Yes, sir. If you have some comments, come down to the podium and give us your name, address, and be sworn to affirm, please, and thank you. Mr. Lassen.
Good evening, guys. Danny Humphreys, 11533 Holly Tree Lane, Greenwood.
Mr. Humphreys, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I do.
Proceed.
Yep. I guess I'm pretty much here to answer any questions. Very happy to be to this point. Just trying to get a place to open up business. So if anybody's not familiar with it, I can get into it more, but I think probably are. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Buxton.
Just a point of clarification. Good seeing you. The inside the packet listed in the conditions for approval, you and your engineer are familiar with those, and you're okay with those?
Yeah, absolutely. I have them all right here.
Okay.
Yeah, very familiar with them. The site plan, stormwater plan is all ready to go. Went back and forth with a lot of changes with Jared, and we got it all ready to roll. I think there's a couple of things on there that was misprinted that I read that they said they had to modify, but,
Through RPC, I don't have a problem with it, but I want to make sure tonight that you're clear on the things required and that you're good, and it sounds like you are.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions for that? Mr. Pepper?
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. It's been a while since we just got started, so hopefully we come to some kind of resolution tonight. The only thing I have is probably more so a comment than a question. Being you're at the gateway to Kent County, people coming in from Sussex County, you're one of the first businesses or properties that they're going to see. Is your intention to keep it neat and orderly around there and keep any kind of storage equipment, materials out of sight?
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be fenced in. We had drawn on the plan 8-foot tall privacy fence. One of the conditions said it had to be 7 foot, so that's fine. There's actually not going to be a lot of equipment. Equipment's generally on the job site. It's more job site vans. But yeah, it's going to be fenced in and kept very neat, absolutely.
Great, appreciate that.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for being here.
Have a good
Sure.
one.
Thank you. Anyone else here in favor of application CS-20-07? Anyone here in favor? Anyone on the line in favor?
If there are any callers who wish to speak on this matter, please press star 1. No.
Anyone here in opposition? Anyone here in opposition of application CS-20-07? Seeing no one and hearing no one, Mr. Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve CS 20-07.
Second motion.
Ready moved and seconded. Mr. Howe, Mr. Pepper, to approve application CS-20-07. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none? Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes, RPC approval and no opposition.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, per comments made.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, per staff and RPC recommendations.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, reason stated plus the applicant's information provided.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. Banta?
Yeah, based on RPC recommendation, staff recommendation, and no opposition, I vote yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Ms. Tanaka. 7 affirmative votes approves application CS-20-07. Next item, petition to amend comprehensive plan map and zoning map. Under Mr. Buxton, Ms. Kiefer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item is ordinance LC 2005. It is an ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan and zoning map for the subject site. It is zoned AC and BG, agricultural conservation and general business. The proposal is to expand the general business zoning. The site area is 18.5 acres. The area of the rezoning is just over 12. It is outside the growth zone on Route 1, just north of Milford. The Regional Planning Commission took testimony on the application at their September 3rd hearing, and at the September 10th business meeting, voted to recommend denial, citing that the application does not comport with a comprehensive plan and does not meet the standards for rezoning in Section 205-408. So again, this comes with a recommendation for denial. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Kiefer. We will now open a public hearing on ordinance LC 20-05. Is there anyone here in favor? Anyone here in favor of ordinance LC 20-05? Yes, sir. Come down to the podium. Give it. No, he's not. As you're heading down, just give us your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed. Thank you.
6055 Greenbrier Road, Seaford, Delaware. I'll swear or affirm.
You're a Delaware lawyer. No need to swear you. You have to answer to the Supreme Court, right? There you go.
Thank you. Thank you all for your consideration of this application tonight. My name is Brian Shirey, and I'm here on behalf of Bay Road Properties. With me is our engineer, Ted Williams, back here, and he can handle any technical questions that may come up. Also, hopefully on the phone is Chuck Spiegelman. Mr. Spiegelman is the realtor, represents the individual who wants to buy the property, and he can testify as to the inventory in the area and the client's needs, those types of things like that. Hopefully he's still there. I know you had an engagement later on this afternoon or this evening that he may not be there, but I guess we'll wait and see when the time comes. Most of you are probably familiar with the property in question. The property is currently split zoned, as you see up there, with all the frontage along Route 1 and Route 113 zoned highway commercial. The rear of the property is zoned for agricultural and low density residential. My parents operated a small business there known as Shirey's Auto Sales for over 25 years at that location. You may remember the big Amish guy that was out front there for a number of years. It's my understanding that there has been a commercial business at this site since the early 50s. Some of you may remember Danninger's Nursery. Like many small business owners, my parents' primary retirement asset is their business property. They retired in 2017 due to some health issues, and I've been helping manage the property ever since, until we can hopefully sell the property. The owner of the, and it's been for sale for a number of years, some of you may rode by and seen the sign. The owner of the RV dealership just down the road is interested in buying the property. However, the amount of commercial space that's currently there, and I apologize for continuing to mess with this, it keeps coming down on me, is just simply too small to maintain an RV dealership. The property is only 277 feet deep. At least the commercial zoning part of the property is only 277 feet deep, and it's just too small for the RV dealership, which requires more space, obviously, to maintain inventory, to display inventory, and to move the vehicles around the property. They also plan to build a new facility on the property that replicates one they have in New Jersey, a new sales and service facility, which would have to be set a little further back off the road and into the currently AR1 zone property. With my remaining time, I'd like to make a few points in support of the application and make a few responses to the staff recommendation report, or the RPC report in this case. First involves the master plan and the growth zone overlay. It's true, it's not in the master plan, it's not in the growth zone overlay, but this body is not bound by the master plan. You have the discretion and authority to make exceptions when doing so would be in the public interest, and I submit that that would be the case today. It's also important to keep in mind that we're not asking for a new commercial use. The commercial use already exists. If rezoning were granted, it would merely be an expansion of the existing commercial use. As previously indicated, my parents operated a auto sales lot there for 25 years. The current tenants are doing the same thing. The facility was for sales, for service, for storage. It's existing now. The only difference is that instead of cars that are going to be displayed, serviced, and sold, it'll be RVs and camper trailers under the proposed use. And while RVs require more space for inventory storage, movement, etc., there will not be any changes in traffic, noise, lighting, trips, any of those types of things. And although the property is not currently in the growth zone, the property is between two major DelDOT infrastructure improvements where commercial development is proposed or already taking place, from the development of the Hertrick and I.G. Burton facilities to the south, to the turf complex and proposed establishments to the north. And while other infrastructure improvements such as public sewer and water may not be planned at the present time, all of the infrastructure needed for the proposed use already exists on the property from the current use or can be handled by private well and septic. In addition, the proposed use of the property, if rezoning is granted, will not change the character of the surrounding area. As previously established, the proposed use is substantially the same as the use that currently exists. In addition, all the parcels to the south, which also adjoin Route 1 and 113 and are east of the highway, are either zoned light industrial or highway commercial. The parcel to the north, which is also split zoned, has all of its frontage zoned commercial. And there are properties zoned highway commercial or industrial along the highway directly across the street from the property, which I think was depicted on a previous map that was up there. In addition to not being in the growth zone or part of the master plan, the RPC also based its decision on a finding that the current inventory doesn't warrant an additional 12 acres of commercial zoning. And while, again, it may be true that there's currently an inventory of vacant commercial land between Milford and Frederica, much of that inventory is comprised of numerous small parcels that are too small to accommodate an RV dealership and service facility or are being marketed for different uses. Finally, I'd like to note that the rezoning was not opposed by DelDOT. It will not create additional direct access points on Route 1. In fact, if it's approved, DelDOT has advised they will consolidate the two existing points of access into one, thereby reducing the number of direct points of access that currently exist. And also this will allow, as I mentioned before, the ability to locate inventory in buildings farther back from the highway, which I submit will also enhance public safety in the area. That's all I have at this time. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Sweeney, yes, sorry.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. Shirey, so this isn't right next to the RV sales of the guy who wants to buy, right? This is.
It's not. The RV dealer is just a little bit farther south, a few hundred yards south. And you can actually see it right there, exactly. He's on a postage stamp lot right now. You can see how everything is jammed there.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. So during the RPC meeting, the comment was made that DelDOT accepted this and they were going to, and you knew that they were going to close one of the entrances.
No, the DelDOT said that if the rezoning is approved and a new facility is built, there's two entrances on the property now. They'll require us to eliminate one.
But they didn't expressly deny it.
I'm sorry?
They did not expressly deny it.
No, they didn't. If you look at the report, there's no opposition at all from DelDOT.
But in the report itself, it stated from the State Planning Office that because of DelDOT's objection, they recommended denial.
Sir, I'll take your word for that. I didn't read it that way. I thought the planning office recommended denial because it's east of Route 1 and they don't want new uses east of Route 1, which is why I was trying to stress that this is not a new use. It's an existing use that's there already.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney.
Mr. Sweeney, Ted Williams from Landmark Science and Engineering.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on Brian's comment, what DelDOT stated there was that we had presented them a concept of a single entrance in on the property. DelDOT stated in their comment, and the plus is as long as that the site was not generating more than 160 trips on a daily basis, that they would still provide us having one point of access onto Route 1, which is what we would be doing. We've consolidated two into one. In addition, DelDOT said that they would probably request or us to participate closing off the crossover that's opposite our site so that vehicles leaving the site would not be able to go directly across Route 1 to get to southbound Route 1. They would have to turn, go north to the South Frederica interchange, and then come back and go down south that direction.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions for the advocate? Seeing none? Thank you very much. Anyone else here? I'm sorry. Just someone else to say, are you finished or not?
I'm sorry, sir?
Are you finished or not?
Oh, yeah, I'm finished. I think there's Chuck Spiegelman maybe on the phone.
Okay, well, we'll certainly try that. Let me get to it. Is there anyone else here in favor of ordinance LC 20-05? Anyone else here in favor on the telephone line?
If there's anyone on the phone line that wants to speak, please press *1 on your phone and we can release your mute. If Mr. Spiegelman is on the line, *1, please. We're not seeing him yet. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Fedemaj. Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Angel.
Thank you for our lawyer, Mr. Elias. Just want to make sure, the RPC voted 6 yeas and 1 nay for denial. So tonight, are we voting as a yes for denial, or is it a no for acceptance?
It's a recommended denial. I think you would, well, it depends on how the motion is framed, but, a motion to approve would be yes. A motion to deny would also be yes to deny.
Just want it clear. Thank you.
Mr. Spiegelman on the line?
Mr. President, I believe we have a caller on the line now who may wish to speak to this matter. If you could announce yourself, caller, we would have you sworn in.
Chuck Spiegelman, 327 Lisa Court, Smyrna, Delaware.
Mr. Spiegelman, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I do.
Proceed.
As Mr. Shirey stated, I'm helping an existing RV dealer in the area who's literally a half a mile, not even south of this location. The dealer moved here from New Jersey into Delaware and rapidly outgrew his facility. He is bulging at the seams, and we have been searching for a property that would meet his needs for approximately 2 years. And as Mr. Shirey again stated, there are other properties for sale in the area, but they don't fit the needs of my client. He needs or plans to build a modern sales office and maintenance facility, which would add up to 10 employees to that facility. He would probably keep the existing facility. That's to be determined. He does plan on growing here. He likes the area, and he would like to stay in the area. This would be a perfect facility for him and an easy move for him. And we're hoping that we can get this done.
Any questions for Mr. Spiegelman? Seeing none. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Sweeney.
Thanks. I have a question for staff, Mr. President. Sure. So, Ms. Kiefer, I know that this question gets asked every time we bring one of these up. The conditional use stays on the parcel, no matter who owns it, or they have plenty of a list of 75 different things they can do on a BG zoned parcel, correct?
Correct.
It does not have to be an RV shop once we zone it BG.
That's correct.
But if Mr. Spiegelman sells, then the condition goes away or stays
No,
BG?
this is not a conditional use, it's a rezoning, and the zoning stays with the property.
Right. All right, so we just need to be clear, there's a rezoning, not a conditional use, and BG stays with that going forward.
Ms. Kiefer, I got just one question for you, just so there's some clarity. In regard to the entrance, I forget there's two now. It's been clearly stated that one would be closed by DelDOT and then the other would remain open. Is that correct?
And that would take place at the development stage, not now. I mean, that's perhaps useful information, but rezoning it doesn't make that happen.
I get that.
That would happen if the site is further developed.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Mr. Angel.
Ms. Kiefer. BG means it could be anything though, right? Is for a business coming through?
Yes.
Okay.
Additional comment? Sure, step to the podium.
Yes, once again, Ted Williams from Landmark. Well, it wasn't in DelDOT's comments at Plus. One of the comments that DelDOT had to me directly when we inquired about this property is they stated to us that if the rezoning was going to have any use that was going to generate more than 160 peak hour trips, because of the corridor preservation program with DelDOT, they would probably deny us access there for any larger use and ask to have us connect to some type of frontage road that would be able to connect somewhere to Thompsonville Road or up to the South Fredericia interchange. So while I understand your concern about rezoning to BG and having potentially other uses on there based upon DelDOT's comment, if it wasn't a use that generated the same number of trips, meaning less than 160 peak hour trips, I think access to Route 1 would be limited and DelDOT would be hard pressed to be able to provide their approval of a site plan for that site.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Any other commissioner questions for the applicant? Seeing none? Is there anyone here in opposition? Anyone here in opposition of ordinance LC 20-05? Anyone here in opposition? Anyone on the line?
If we have any callers who wish to speak in opposition, press star 1 and we'll release your mute. We're seeing no callers, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Petimage. With that being said, the public hearing is now closed. Mr. Buxton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll take a minute. It's not often that I'm silent during some of these hearings. We can all agree to that. I think that it's important to listen and understand the comments that were just made, because I think they clearly articulate why we can be in favor of this application. I think the last comment regarding your concerns about the proposed expansion of use and DelDOT's firewall from preventing something further from occurring, you should find comforting. Remember, we're already pregnant there. We've already got a BG existing frontage there. We've already got an existing, we'll call it, usage there. So when we make these decisions, when we make this decision tonight, it's not often that I advocate to overturn the RPC, which I think they do a heck of a great job, or staff does an equally impressive job. There are times when we do make that recommendation, and I plan on doing that tonight. Zoning and planning is not perfect. That's why we're here to vote on it, and not just administratively do these things. It's a guide, not a mandate. Remember that. It's a guide and it's a guide that we've had a lot of input in, but it is not cemented. So we need to be clear on that. When I look at rezoning, and I'm going to include these comments along with the comments made by the applicant and the engineer for approval tonight, I look at a rezoning as it can take contiguous. It's a part of the existing property, essentially. Does it have infrastructure? It absolutely does. DelDOT just in it has an existing entrance right now. Although it's not connected to sewer, it doesn't need sewer, at least not the county sewer, for the proposed usage. It's suitable. We ride by that location a lot. It's suitable. In that area, there were already existing conditions. This property predates the growth zone. So it's kind of hard to then slap over top of an existing property that's been there for a long time that, no, you cannot do any more. And they're expanding backwards, not along the frontage. So I think that fits the recommendations that I'm going to leave it with. I state these as clearly as I can because it requires a 5-2 vote. And I know that while you respect the Regional Planning Commission, this is one of those times when we can respectfully disagree with them. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve. That we approve ordinance LC 20-05. It's amending the zoning map comprehensive plan from AC agricultural conservation, low density residential, and BG general business highway commercial to business general highway commercial located outside the growth zone overlay district. It's based on my comments as well as the applicant's comments.
Second motion.
Regularly moved and seconded, Mr. Buxton, and was it Mr. Angel, Mr. Pepper? Mr. Pepper and Mr. Angel. Seconded. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes, reasons stated by Commissioner Buxton, as well as the jobs it's bringing to Kent County. As the economic chair, I always want to see growth in business, so yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, per my comments.
Mr. Hall?
Mr. President, I recuse myself from this particular application.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, reasons stated.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, reason stated, plus last time I counted from the regional sports complex to the Sussex County line, I believe there are already 32 businesses on the east side of Route 113 or Route 1. Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, per Mr. Buxton's statements.
Mr. Banta?
Yeah, for all the reasons stated so appropriately and adequately by Mr. Buxton, I vote yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 6 yeas and with 1 recusal, 1 abstaining.
Thank you, Ms. Tanaka. 6 affirmative votes approves ordinance LC 20-05. Still under public hearings, Kent County ordinance. Mr. Buxton, street bonds. Ms. Keever.
Thank you. Ordinance LC 2008 eliminates the requirement from our subdivision and land development code for the county to collect a surety for construction of subdivision streets dedicated to the state of Delaware and to be accepted into their maintenance system. We discussed this ordinance, I believe, in August in committee. The Regional Planning Commission has recommended approval of it. You'll also see in the packet, DelDOT did send us a letter saying they had no objection to it. They did make a request for a very minor change in language that the Regional Planning Commission also discussed and recommended inclusion of. You'll see that on page 1 of the memo, it's highlighted. So if the Levy Court chooses to adopt the ordinance, I would ask that whoever makes the motion also includes a reference to that amendment. So again, this comes with a recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Any questions for staff? Mr. Buxton.
Maybe just a public comment in case this public comes up down the road, many years. We have clearly identified through DelDOT that they are not in opposition. They've reviewed this. In fact, they support it. And it is, in general terms, a business-friendly move. And so there's no objection to that. So just wanted to put that on the record, clarifying that if it needs to be down the road. I hope it doesn't.
Any further questions for staff? Seeing none? Thank you, Ms. Kiefer. The public hearing now open. Ordinance LC 20-08, street bonds. Anyone here in favor? Anyone here in favor of ordinance LC 20-08? Anyone here in favor? Anyone on the phone in favor?
If there are any callers who wish to speak on this matter, please press *1 and we'll release your mute. Seeing no callers, Mr. President.
Anyone here in opposition? Anyone here in opposition of ordinance LC 20-08? Anyone on the phone?
*1 if you are opposed. Callers? No.
Thank you, Mr. Pedamage. Mr. Buxton.
President, recognizing that Commissioner Pepper had a lot to do with putting this here, I won't put it on him to make the motion since his packet may not be completely open, but I'll make the motion recognizing Mr. Pepper's efforts to recommend approval of ordinance LC 20-08 street bonds. This is based on the memorandum from staff dated August 26, 2020, the letter from DelDOT dated August 31st, 2020, and findings of fact included in the packets referencing A and B.
Second motion.
Regularly moved and seconded. Mr. Buxton and Mr. Pepper. Any questions on that motion? Hearing none? Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Although I have some reservations on this, I'm going to go ahead and vote yes, because we can still go back and change it in the future if it doesn't work out, so, but yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, staff, and positive RPC recommendations, no public opposition to my comments.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, based on RPC recommendations.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, reasons stated.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, reason stated, plus it's the fair thing to do.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. Banta?
Sure, for the reasons stated by Mr. Buxton, I vote yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approves ordinance LC 20-08. Close the public hearings. We'll now recess to committee meetings. First item under public safety, Mr. Pepper.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under public safety this evening, we have one item. It's Policy 30 Community Projects Assistant Grant request, and it's from South Bowers Beach and South Bowers Beach, and a letter came in addressed to Commissioner Buxton requesting assistance in placing rescue rings both in South Bowers Beach and Bowers Beach on both sides of the Murkill River. And in light of the tragedy that happened there this past summer, I think this is a worthwhile Policy 30 community project. The amount of these rings installed is $573 a piece, with a total of $1,146 coming from the Policy 30 Community Project Assistance Grant. And I think it's a worthwhile thing to do, and something that's been sorely needed in that area, obviously, from the tragedy that happened there this past summer. Any questions?
Well said.
Okay. Move this on to the business meeting later on this evening. Looks like 7 up. Any public comments? Any public comments on this one item? Seeing none, the Public Safety Committee will adjourn, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Pepper. Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Crouch is here to present some technology upgrade from MTM.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, I'm here tonight to talk to you about the phone system upgrade that we would like to do. Cisco is a vendor who provides the software for the county phones. It's for this Kent County complex, the library, and the rec center. And Cisco announces end of support on our current phone system to be November 30th of this year. The last time we did an upgrade was in 2014, and we are due for this upgrade. Last time we did it, our network administrator did that for us. Unfortunately, he left us 6 months ago, and we have not been able to fill the position. So therefore, we asked MTM to provide quotes to us. They do provide specialized network support for us, and they've proven to have excellent service. MTM is recommended as sole source for compatibility, and MTM is also listed on the Delaware State contract for telecom. The hardware cost for this project is $22,000, $683.19. Consulting, integration, project management services is a fixed rate of $14,000, bringing the total of the project to $36,683.19. The project is fully funded under the General Fund Capital Project Server Hardware Software, with funds being transferred from the Capital Project IT Future Capital Outlay. The statement of work has been reviewed by the county attorney. And one more thing I wanted to note is in this upgrade, we are required by law to also install software that provides emergency phone numbers from the person who called 911. And that is very important, mainly in high-rise buildings. 911 in this situation would know what part of the building the phone number is called from, or they would know what number is calling. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Crouch? Seeing none? Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move this item to the ensuing business meeting. 7 up. Any public comment on this topic? Any public comment? Anybody on the phone with public comment? Hit *1. Seeing none, back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. We'll resume the business session. First item, Mr. Pepper.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 2 items tonight under my committee. The first one is the West Kent County Paramedic Substation Construction Bid Review and Action, which we discussed at length at the last committee meeting last week, and I trust that all the commissioners have had an opportunity to get their answers to questions. Did I jump a page? Great. That is, you're right, I did jump a page. Okay, this potential action item from Public Safety Committee meeting, Policy 30, Community Projects Assistant Grant Request, Bowers Beach and South Bowers Beach Life-Saving Rings. Make a motion to approve the get my papers here. Move to award the Community Projects Assistant Grant Policy 30 in the amount of $1,146 to cover the purchase and or reimbursement costs for installation of 2 life-saving rings to be installed along the frontage of the Murray River, with 1 life-saving ring to be provided to the town of Bowers Beach in care of Bowers Beach Fire Company on the north side of the river, and 1 life-saving ring to be provided to the community of South Bowers Beach in care of South Bowers Beach Fire Company on the south side of the river. That's the motion, Mr. President.
Regularly moved and seconded, Mr. Pepper and Mr. Angel. Mr. Buxton. Sorry about that, sir. Regularly moved by Mr. Pepper and Mr. Buxton to approve the motion as presented. Any questions on that motion? Hearing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Because it's in Mr. Buxton's district and Mr. Pepper's committee, I vote yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approve the motion made by Mr. Pepper. Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the committee meeting we just adjourned, I move to approve MTM Technologies for telephone hardware purchase, consulting, integration, and project management services in the total amount of $36,683.19 to be purchased from the Delaware State Contract GSS 17455-Telecom, and authorize the President of Levy Court to sign necessary documents. The funding source will be the General Fund FY 2021 Capital Project Server Hardware Software, with funds being transferred from Capital Project IT Future Capital Outlays.
Second motion.
Regularly moved and seconded, Mr. Sweeney and Mr. Angel, to approve the motion as made by Mr. Sweeney. Any questions on that motion? Hearing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approves the motion as so made by Mr. Pepper. Next item on the agenda, as we turn our page, Mr. Pepper again.
All right, and now I'm on the right page, I think. We have 2 items under my committee. The first one is the West Kent County Paramedic Substation Construction Bid Review and Action. And as I stated earlier, we discussed this at length at the last committee meeting. The commissioners have had a week to get any answers to any questions that they may have. And at this time, I'm ready to make a motion.
The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. And I'd like to also thank assistance from Commissioner Angel on getting some questions answered on this and helping out with this. So appreciate that. I might add that this has been almost 2.5 years since we started this, and I'm extremely pleased to be at this point tonight, and hopefully we can move this forward, get started, and better serve the folks that live on the western part of the city of Dover, and also, but more so, the people live in western Kent County, Hartley, Marydale area. So I'm very pleased to be able to make this motion tonight. The motion I'd like to make is the Kent County Department of Public Safety recommends that the bid award for the construction of the West Kent County Paramedic Substation go to the low bidder, Green Diamond Builders Incorporated, in the amount of $792,434. That's the bid.
Second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Angel, to move Green Diamond Builders, Inc., $792,434 in regard to the paramedic station. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes, great to have a company local and saving of $202,000.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approves the motion is made by Mr. Pepper.
Mr.
Sheriff's
President?
Hall. Yes, sir.
I would like to have one further comment I'd like to make. I'd like to order the Kent County Planning Department to expedite the building permits on this property. Every day that goes past, we're underserving the west side of the county. So I would like for them to consider this priority and put it on their agenda to get all permits approved expeditiously.
I would agree that lives are at stake, and we need to get this fixed and done very, very quickly. Thank you, Mr. Pepper. Mr. Sweeney.
To add to that, I was sitting in the Redner's Shopping Center on Route 8 and got one of those notices on Pulse Point that there was medical emergency west of Dover, and watched the paramedics come into traffic on Route 8 and get slowed down tremendously. So I thought, yep, if that paramedic station was up and running, that wouldn't have happened. So glad to see this move forward.
And there was not a train at the railroad crossing, correct? That's a big problem. So, any other comments? Mr. Buxton.
Is that a button or a indicator? I want one of those buttons that pushes and you get the power. You just say, I'm expediting this. Anyway, no.
They sell them at Staples, Mr. Buxton? Just have to ask for the specific one.
Okay, Mr. Pepper, item number 2, sir.
Thank you. This item as well, we talked in depth about last week. It's the Sheriff's Office proposed policy amendments, policy 20-3, subsection 13-1 firearm policy, and P20-4, subsection 13-2, use of force, policy 20-5, subsection 13-3, transporting detainees, and policy 20-6, subsection 13-4, use of sheriff's office vehicles. And likewise, we've had a week to get some amendments made to what was proposed at the committee meeting last week. And I believe, unless I'm corrected, all the requested changes were made. Any commissioner find anything that wasn't changed?
I think they have been correct, Mr. Angel.
Mr. Angel.
Yes, I just want to make sure Mr. Pettimaj is okay with the changes that we asked for last week, where his name be added to the policy.
I think they addressed all your comments?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Just need a motion, sir.
If not, I move to approve the proposed revisions to Levy Court Policy 13-1, Policy 20-3, 13-2, Policy 20-4, 13-3, Policy 20-5, and 13-4, Policy 20-06 for the Sheriff's Office as presented with the listed modifications.
Second the motion.
Regularly moved and seconded. Mr. Pepper, Mr. Angel, to approve the Sheriff's Office proposed policy amendments have been changed to some degree. Any questions on that motion? Hearing none, Mr. Naka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Banta? Mr. President, roll call, reveal 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes approves the Sheriff's Office proposed policy amendments. That will end the committee meetings and action therefore. Right now, we need other business under item 1. Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to go into executive session immediately following the meeting for preliminary discussion on site acquisition for a publicly funded capital improvement, legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation, and personnel matters pursuant to 29 Delaware Code 10,004 B2, 4, and 9.
Second.
Regularly moved and seconded. Mr. Pepper, Mr. Sweeney, to go into executive session immediately after this meeting, from which we will not be returning. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, Mr. Naka.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call, reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes moves into executive session right after this meeting, from which we will not be returning. Item 2.
Yes, I move to go into executive session immediately following the committee meetings of October 6, 2020 for preliminary discussion on site acquisition for a publicly funded capital improvement legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or potential or pending or potential litigation and personnel matters subject to 29 Delaware Code 10,004 B2, 4, and 9.
Second.
Ready to move the seconded. Mr. Pepper, Mr. Sweeney go into executive session on October 6, 2020. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, Mr. Naka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call, reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you, Lori. 7 affirmative votes moves out to the executive session until October 6, 2020. Informational items. Mr. Pettymage.
Just a very brief report on the efforts that you've enabled with the disaster relief funding. To date, through this afternoon, we've deployed 133 yard waste dumpsters, and we're still getting orders, but they're greatly diminished. The frequency has tailed off, but we did receive a few new ones this week from some areas in 12 Oaks that were damaged as well. And so that cleanup effort continues. The track loader that we rented from Auburn Tractor, the excavator we rented from Auburn Tractor was a huge help in moving larger trees. We worked the streets for about 3 weeks with it, and then the last week and a half that we had it under rent, we rented it for a full month. We cleaned up Tidbury Park to a great extent. Commissioner Sweeney and I went down and toured it on Saturday, and they did a fantastic job moving a lot of the large trees. There's still a lot of work at Tidbury that needs to be done because the dog park fences were severely damaged, and that'll be a project that's going to be coming forward. The staff is just starting to begin the planning and reconstruction of the dog park. But it was a great investment on your part to enable us to do that, as well as the track loader that we leased from Chesapeake Equipment. So that's all I wanted to share with you at this point, and appreciate your support of the staff and helping out with that budget that you gave us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one comment. Mr. Sweeney doesn't want the floor, but give me 1 second. I just want to recognize Commissioner Angel, because I think without without his piece of equipment, it would have been even more challenging. So personally, thank you, Mr. Angel, for your time and effort. Also, Mr. Sweeney, but go ahead and make your comment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Mr. Pettymonge, what's the status of the funding that we set aside?
I'm sorry?
The status of the funding that we set aside.
Status? Well, we have several outstanding bills yet that have to come in. But I'm going to estimate at this point, based on what we believe these dumpster distributions will cost us, that we probably have pushed somewhere into the $65,000 to $70,000 range at this point, with just the dumpsters and the tipping fees and the rental equipment. Yeah.
So you saw on Saturday that we're still working along Route 10.
Yes.
Is there a chance we can get that excavator back?
Well, there's always a chance. The piece of equipment is, it's not an inexpensive piece to rent. It was more advantageous for us to rent it for a full month than the initial week. The additional weeks in a month, it doesn't add that much additional to, it's that getting it on site. They're in demand, so a lot of construction going on that they move them around different job sites. But the rental on that was about $12,000.
Thank you.
Any other information? Mr. Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Pettymonge, you'll probably be seeing another dumpster come through for a dentist of mine that had the Penwood trees fall into his property. Staff have been trying to work with the Penwood people to help, and he's getting to the point now, it's been a long time. So I talked to him today. He may just go ahead and order a dumpster, cut it up, and I'll try and help him with my tractor to get the stuff in the dumpster. So you may be getting that today or tomorrow. I'm not sure when he's going to do it. And also, I had a question on the excavator too, because I have a gentleman off of Evelyn Drive that's a disabled vet. He's got about 70 yards of trees down in his yard. He wasn't here when that took place. And he has called and asked for help. I am trying to put together a team of younger people, and that's the key. We need younger people. So I've asked even the Chapter 850 for their grandsons, anybody that can help. And if there's anybody in the county, once this gets all set up, we could sure use as many people out that way. There is a dumpster already there, but it's going to get filled quickly, I'm sure. But I haven't gone back out to check it yet, but I just wanted to put a bug in your ear too.
Any public comments? Any public comments? Any further commissioner comments? Nope. Need a motion to go into executive session?
Move to go into executive session.
Second.
Very good. Moved and seconded. Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Ader, go to executive session, from which we will not be returning. Any question on that motion? Hearing none, Ms. Tanaka, please call the roll.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
I will only say yes, and Mr. Buxton will be going to the executive session. Where are you going? He's leaving.
Mr. President?
So 7 affirmative votes, we're going into executive session.
Conference recording